Good afternoon, everyone. So we've been tracking this space for very long now, and what I see is there's a change of perception around ESG lately. A lot of enterprises, they are trying to understand what ESG can do for their business. Let me show you some of the research that we've done in this area. But just to take a step back, not very long ago, ESG was confused with CSR. A lot of enterprises, like you said, they used to think that ESG is something, it's sort of an obligation that they must meet in order to achieve their ESG goals. Many enterprises also treated it as a cost expense, but clearly not anymore. They are seeing a lot of value in incorporating ESG in the business practices. In fact, what we see based on a very recent research by Oxford University, 88% of companies, they found better operational performance when they incorporated ESG principles into their business. So these enterprises, they have a realization that eliminating carbon-intensive assets or building green supply chain can help them improve their operational efficiency. In fact, even small initiatives towards sustainability, like going paperless, or recycling, or making energy-efficient upgrades, is also having an impact on their ROI and impacting their bottom line. But building sustainable products and services is not really helpful just in increasing the top line for the enterprises. It is also helping them improve their brand positioning. So now you see that a lot of digital talent and consumers, they are changing the way they associate with the brand. They're trying to know what the brand is doing for the greater good. In fact, you would see 64% of customers, they're less likely to buy from an enterprise who has no take on ESG. And this in a way is, pushing companies to transition from linear business models to circular business, circular economy. Another area of interest I would say for enterprises is DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion. And enterprises have witnessed 20% higher rate of innovation through these DEI efforts by boosting collective intelligence and problem solving through a vast pool of diverse talent. And many enterprises across industries like MasterCard, McDonald's, Marriott International, they are going big on DEI. Just to give you an example, so McDonald's last year, they pretty much announced low interest loans worth $250 million, and the objective was to increase diversity in their US franchisee restaurants. And while this is a good example to talk about, let's talk about the collective progress which is happening. So more than 400 enterprises, they have signed the climate pledge, which is a pact to achieve Paris Agreement of being net zero 10 years early. And if you just look slightly back to February, this number was just 200. So there has been massive uptick in the number of companies who are adopting ESG. So clearly, I think the business case for sustainability is it is strong, it is growing in terms of cost reduction, new revenue opportunities, attracting digital talent and investments. But this transformation in mindset, it is catalyzed by changing consumer, awareness about sustainability, robust regulatory compliance, not only just from governments but also from banks and investors. So let me talk about some of the research that we very recently did. So early this year, we basically ran a survey for over 500 enterprises, and a lot of their CXOs, what they had to say about ESG within their organizations was that 36% of them are likely to adopt ESG norms and standards, which includes green building certificates, adopting renewable energy, building circular economy, which is pretty much consistent from last year. But there has been 33% increase in the number of enterprises who are building ESG policies. They want to report ESG data based on some of the global regulatory frameworks which are available, like GRI, TCFD, SASB. And this is exactly their number one priority. And this is exactly where they need the help and support of IT service providers to bring together all the data that is lying in silos so that they can bring it together, help communicate that data to stakeholders and make data-driven decisions. Another core area for them is sustainable business model development services, which includes things like building green data centers or carbon neutral factories or transitioning to renewable energy.
Great. Well, I know Avasant's very committed to sustainability, and you can tell because we were looking for note cards, and instead of that, we found some of these Hitachi Ventera raffle cards. And so reduce, reuse, recycle. That's always important. Thank you, Hitachi, by the way. I hope you didn't screw up your raffle somehow. Shael, on a more serious note, you head up a lot of our innovation efforts. I know you recently were at the UN. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and do you see enterprises embracing sustainability the same way Chandrika does?
This is all fine. So first of all, hi everyone, and thank you. It's such a pleasure to be a part of this panel discussing such a critical topic. So we have, over the past several years, attended the UNGC summits. We've been a member of the UN Global Compact since 2011, so sustainability has always been very high on our agenda. And it's a key reason why we started the Avasant Foundation in 2012. So at the very core of which we will align our missions to the Sustainable Development Goals, which is led by Trisha, who we're pleased to have with us. But when it comes to the mood among other companies, I'd say there's a marked shift in the prioritization of the focus in terms of sustainability. So previously at these events, there would be the C-suite executives, but now they're persons from the corporate sustainability function, CSOs. They're really driving that agenda within their organizations. I think, for us at Avasant, we have also, yes, we've been with the foundation for the past 10 years, but like recently we've also established our own corporate sustainability functions.
Sorry, I just called. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. And then of course another thing is, like, in addition to the social good, many companies have realized, as Chandrika was mentioning, the competitive advantage that they can get from sustainability, especially in improving brand image, to attract customers who are increasingly concerned about environmental and social issues. So, Gen Zers, they're referred to as the sustainability generation. So it's also something that's like influencing their purchasing decisions as well. So it's why a lot of companies are now going to incorporate them into their practices and their reporting and disclosure practices.
Great. So they are embracing. What are some of the things they're doing to go about this journey?
So I think one of the most important things for organizations to do is to build that culture, create that culture of sustainability, get everybody excited. They have to define the challenges and identify what's most passionate to you, to your business. What are the issues that are actually there, and then what are we doing to address them? And then it should also align the targets of those issues to the Sustainable Development Goals and finding ways to link sustainability goals to business goals and then put together a strategy to solve it.
Well, Swapnil, we're turning to you. It's nice to talk to you. Peter Drucker famously said you can't manage what you can't measure. What is Avasant Research doing about measuring ESG goals, and what should enterprises be thinking about when they're thinking about that?
Sure, thanks a lot for that, Dave, and thank you everyone for being here. I think before I get into the tracking and the metrics and what we're doing to help enterprises measure, I do want to highlight what is fast becoming one of my pet peeves when it comes to sustainability. I think when everyone starts talking about sustainability, the conversation on many occasions gets hijacked towards the E part of it, the environment part of it. But the social and the governance aspects of sustainability are as critical. They're not as top of mind as they should be, I believe. And that's why when we talk about metrics and all that, I want everyone here to really think not just about carbon neutrality, not just about those metrics, but also metrics around diversity, inclusion, data privacy, several of these things as well. Now, if you look at enterprises, I think one of the things that has been happening is that enterprises have been on a journey when it even comes to reporting. Excuse me. When it even comes to reporting or measuring sustainability. I think a few years back when the media started picking this up and focusing a lot more on what enterprises are doing towards sustainability, we saw this large number of enterprises just using what I would call glamour metrics while looking at sustainability. I think they would have, as part of their CSR budget, they would have one initiative running somewhere in the corner of the organization. And all their media activities, press releases, everything was kind of aligned around those specific things which were meant to just look good for the enterprises. No one is denying that those activities did not happen. But was there a fundamental shift in the mentality or the mindset, as Shael and Chandrika both mentioned? Not so much, right? Now, what is happening is that this movement is moving towards or moving away from these glamour metrics, and there is more realization and more scrutiny. And I don't just mean regulatory scrutiny of enterprises. I also mean, again, as Shael mentioned and Chandrika also mentioned, we're in the middle of the millennial generation right now, and a lot of people, a lot of young employees are actually very keen to understand what the enterprise is actually doing before they will sign the dotted line and join a firm. So there's more scrutiny, which is leading to a realization that glamour metrics no longer work for enterprises. And that's why a lot of these industry bodies or industry standards like GRI, SASP, all of these are emerging as well. Now, what we do or what we help or advise enterprises on is just to tag on to what Shael said about an integrated strategy, right? Identify the metrics, identify the standards that are relevant for your organization. Once you have them, build your strategy around some of those metrics as well. And then make a lot of investments in actually implementing projects or initiatives around that, but also in terms of gathering the data that is required for reporting. As you said, once you start measuring it, I think there will be more progress. I think more and more enterprises will go down that path of making actual impact with their sustainability strategies.
See, I fell into Swapnil's trap. I started talking just about sustainability with these cards and just a glamour thing when I should have been talking about all sorts of ESG. Chandrika, back to you if you don't mind. Let me talk to you about some of the measurements that Avasant is doing and some of the areas that we're tracking and how that applies to enterprises.
Right, so before we jump into that, I would like to talk about why it's important. And as Swapnil mentioned, I think it's, if you don't track something, you don't know what you're going to improve, right? So that's important. And with the growing number of regulations that are coming in, India, China, Australia, EU, in fact, very recently, they came up with certain directives that they plan to launch. And it's going to have a massive impact on about 50,000 European companies and 10,000 non-EU companies. So the impact is going to be massive because of these regulations. And what I see so far, enterprises are really good at reporting scope 1, scope 2 emissions because that's closer to their business. But let's not forget that these organizations, they work with a lot of vendors and partners. So they cannot use their sustainability goals in isolation of the emissions that are happening in their product value chain. And that's exactly, where enterprises are concerned, and they are requesting a lot of this data in RFIs that I see. because of which, can we have the slide up? So it's an interesting index that we developed to help enterprises. Can we have the slide, please? Yeah. So this index has been built to help enterprises make more informed procurement decisions when they engage with IT service providers. It is an analytical assessment tool that leverages our proprietary ESG maturity index, which benchmarks service providers based on the ESG disclosures and performance. It is a very exhaustive evaluation that we did across 50 metrics and 20 dimensions across E, S, G, SDG coverage, the compliance part of it. So, the reason we wanted to do this index was, at the moment, like we mentioned, a lot of reporting frameworks, they exist as to, guide enterprises in reporting the ESG disclosures. But there is lack of a tool or a framework that presents all this data and assesses, all this information which is available in the secondary domain. And that's exactly the issue which the index solves.
Well, good. I mean, so Swapnil, we've established, at least I hope, to everybody out here's satisfaction, the value of ESG and supporting it, and that enterprises are starting to do it. But that's just the start, obviously. They've got to start investing in technology and innovation. What are some of the areas of investment, the technologies that they should really be thinking about? And how will that impact their business?
How much time do we have, Dave?
About 18 minutes. You can take the whole thing if you want. I don't think Shael will mind.
No. So again, I think just going back to the framework that I started with, right, on the ESG side, I'm going to start with the social and the governance part of it first. I think the short answer is that there can be an infinite list of the technologies that are already there and new and emerging technologies which can be used if the mindset changes towards sustainability, right? Now, some of the, I won't list down all of them, but I think some of the technologies that I have seen applications already being made in some enterprises, which I am really excited about. So when you look at social, the social aspect of ESG or sustainability, I think the two main areas where I see a lot of technological inputs going in, I think diversity and inclusion, as well as health and safety. Now, if you look at diversity and inclusion, any recruiting mechanism or process right now has inherent biases built in, whether it's driven by humans or we bring in ChatGPT, we bring in some other mechanisms to scan through resumes and all of that. Now we're aware of this. Now there is a lot of work that is happening around white box AI and explainable AI, which is focusing, which acknowledges this bias and then helps in rooting that out. Not a lot of conversations happen about this, but I think this is a really, really fundamental pillar of how sustainability investments in technology should be structured. Second, on the health and safety aspect, again, there are lots of industries which are fairly hazardous in nature. You take mining, you take manufacturing, all of that. I think we are seeing great applications of augmented reality, virtual reality in some of these areas. And I think this will grow further as we go forward. So that's again one technology. I think we need more applications, more use cases for using AR, VR to protect humans, to protect people from those hazardous situations. Also, we don't need to make net new investments, frankly, in some cases. It's just a change in mindset and how you use it. So IoT is a very well-established technology at this point in time. Married along with artificial intelligence, and there can be a lot of tracking of humans again in hazardous areas, in disaster relief. Various things can be done. So social, I mentioned those two main areas, I think. Now coming to governance, I think data privacy is a big area right now, it's not just healthcare. I think across the board, different industries. So technologies, information security technologies or cybersecurity technologies, which make sure that the data remains private to the individual, are actually a part of sustainability as well. I think those are another set of technologies that I'm quite keenly observing. The second one, I think, under governance again is, and we saw a lot of that in the other room this morning. I think lots of deep fake information, fake news that is happening right now. So technologies such as blockchain, for example, will help solve some of those issues. Again, a part of governance. So to make sure that the information or the news that's coming out is actually true or not. So that's on the governance side. Sorry, I think I'm taking too much time.
No, we told you the whole 18 minutes.
Okay. On the environment side, the E part of it, I won't really want to talk about any new technology. I think all the technologies that are already there and embedded in enterprises, they just need to be looked at and tweaked with a sustainability mindset. If you look at the last 3 years, I think cloud investments have been, they've just shot through the roof at this point of time. But what's also happened because of that is that some of the benefits that we thought from cloud do not happen because cloud give you the ability, the elasticity to actually increase your compute power and all of that stuff, right? But then they don't go down. And that doesn't just have a commercial implication on the enterprise, it also has a sustainability related or an environment related impact on that enterprise. So focusing on cloud optimization rather than large scale migration, I think it's going to have both a commercial benefit as well as a sustainability benefit. And that's what I think enterprises need to do. Look at your IT environments, look at your technology environments, find the places where the existing technologies can be tweaked to bring the sustainability angle to it. So, long-winded answer, but I hope that helped.
Oh, no, definitely. I hope I don't steal your thunder, Chandrika, because I know I'm about to ask you the same question. But I just want to throw drones out there. I think drones with intelligent cameras that can not only track infrastructure, but crops, damage to the environment, huge growth area that we need to be using where camera vision is going to be a huge addition to drones. I'm sorry if you were about to say that, but what technologies are you thinking we need to be looking at investing in?
Actually, I was about to say that, but I
I'm so sorry.
So I do agree with all the use cases that Swapnil talked about. They're pretty valid, and we do see a lot of enterprises, adopting it. But let's not have a very blinkered approach to using digital tech only for managing sustainability issues. I think in times to come, digital technology will also be useful in managing the societal impact. So, for example, automating the repetitive task in coral farming, using bots to remove algae, which restricts the growth of coral reefs, or using satellite data, IoT, and digital twins to for early fire detection, managing its spread, its severity, and using drones to again reforest the area. And I think this is not just digital technology that's going to help us get there. We also need to think out of the box, new ways of doing something. And many startups have taken this path, and they're building innovative solutions like using running water, generating electricity from running water, turning plastic and food waste into an energy source.
That's really great. I think technology is one of the really important keys to this. But there's another side, right? And Swapnil, you started to talk about it a lot. This the people side, the retention. One of the things that's amazing about sustainability is when you start thinking about one thing you can do, it leads to another, and what happens is a sustainable cycle of thinking and creativity really comes around. And there's so many parts of businesses you can really address, business processes, people. Swapnil, how does sustainability drive innovation which is one of the things we wanted to talk about here. How does sustainability really drive innovation inside an enterprise and get that cycle going?
Yeah, thanks for that. I think that's a good question because sometimes, these things are looked at in isolation, but they're really not, in a way. But again, let me just go back a little bit in history, right? I think since the Industrial Revolution, the way success has been measured has been on financial success of that organization, right? Now this is an opportunity in this timeline to look at success in a different manner as well. And that's where how sustainable is your organization, how environment friendly it is, how socially correct it is, and all of that. What this will do is that once that mindset changes, suddenly you'll see that innovation is required across the board because the measures have changed, right? Financial success is not the only success. What this will lead to is emergence or development of products which keep sustainability in mind, which will lead to newer products coming in. It will also lead to more awareness about the kind of people that you're serving or your customer base and how that is changing, which will again drive a more aware customer base will require more products and services which are more aligned to what they are looking for now, right? So to me, this will be a push. It will be a different type of fillip or push to innovation. Even product innovation itself, which has fundamentally been a part of the growth engine in an organization, will change. So that's, I think, one of the areas. The other areas for smaller enterprises, startups, etc., is that ESG is also going to open up some of the capital and investment. So a lot, I think, in the previous panel also there was a gentleman who was talking about investing in organizations which are more ESG or sustainability sensitive. I think that entire, and we know more green funds are emerging every year, so that access to more capital will also come through this focus on sustainability, which in turn will drive more innovation in these organizations. So I think those were a couple of areas. I think I did address the people issue as well. If you want to innovate, if you want to build an enterprise which has innovation at its core, you need people, you need young, dynamic people who are looking to solve the problems of today and tomorrow. And to attract them, you need to be a sustainable organization. So, we look at the people part of it, the product part of it, and the capital part of it. I think all three will create an ecosystem of innovation built around the mindset of sustainability.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Shael, back to you. Talking about people, bringing it back to sort of what Avasant is doing around our Avasant Foundation, or maybe around retention, people, social justice, any of those things you want to talk about that Avasant's doing in that area?
Yeah, of course. And I would say, people might be one of the harder aspects of managing sustainability. We spoke about differences with millennials and the Gen Zers, but there's also previous generations. So it's about understanding and bringing everybody on board. I think one of the things that we really try to do at Avasant is that we try to get our employees involved in the conversation. So one of our efforts in the past 2 years, we really wanted to achieve a more gender balanced company, which, by the way, I'm proud to say that we have. We've achieved gender parity for North America. But we, for instance, on International Women's Day, we held a call with all the employees in the company. Everyone shared their perspectives on things that they can do to how do we empower women, how can we achieve gender parity. So, and of course, male allyship, what can men do to help support and drive this initiative. So one of the things that we do at Avasant is we try to get everybody involved in those conversations with us.
Well, I know we're talking a lot about Gen Z, but shout out to Gen X too. We care. We're coming up on time here, and what I'd like to do really is a final question here. If we can just go down the line, starting with Chandrika. Hopefully, at this point, everybody's on board with for business, and hopefully they realize it drives innovation. So hopefully we're out there all excited and we're ready to go. What's the one big thing every company or every person in this audience can take home with them to really get going on their ESG, their sustainability, their innovation initiatives?
Sure. So I think until now, enterprises have predominantly focused on carbon footprint as a metric, which I feel is a narrow, metric to capture given the breadth of issues we have in the current economy. In my opinion, enterprises must take a regenerative approach to business, which moves beyond traditional sustainability measures and has a net positive impact on the society, economy, and the environment. I think businesses must build an ESG strategy that promotes regeneration and restoration of natural resources and societal systems that positively influence the broader environmental, economic ecosystems within which they operate.
Great. Shael?
So for me, I would say one of the biggest takeaways is that sustainability has to be a core part of who you are. It has to be what you're passionate about, and aligning your business goals to your sustainability goals. So what we've done with Avasant and through the Avasant Foundation is that we have the foundation on the nonprofit side serving digital skills training to support what we do on the for-profit side, which is sourcing advisory. So you have to make it connected to what you do. That's essential, that's key.
No, I was just going to say, go ahead, Shael. Swapnil?
I was just trying to say, we just have 2 minutes, so hurry up.
No, but I do want to add to what Shael said. I think that was very powerful because we also saw that in the session yesterday with LAX, right? So their higher LAX program was at that. And the foundation works on a similar principle now. We are part of the sourcing industry, and we train people, the underserved communities, and bring them into the mainstream of our industry. So I think that's an important point.
It is an important point, but now I'm going to force you to do another important point and give us what you were going to say to wrap up. What's one more takeaway for the audience, since you stole part of Shael's?
Sure. I think the most important one is that sustainability is good for business. I think almost everything kind of flows from there. If leaders of enterprises, large organizations, small organizations, all of them truly believe that sustainability is a driver which will make them successful, and again, success both in terms of financial success as well as sustainability related success. I think if we have that, everything else will fall into place. The mindset will change. So to me, I think the single quote that anyone should take from this session really is that sustainability is good for business.
I think that's great, and I know I'm keeping you off from your break, so I'll be brief, but I just want to throw in a quick thing. I think we learned a lot from the Amazon talk about cross-functional teams and moving resources around. I think this is a huge part of the sustainability effort too, because you've got a situation where everybody's very myopically looking into their own business goals, their own desires. When you're talking about that virtuous cycle of innovation and sustainability, you need people to have a holistic understanding of your business, and you need people who can cross-pollinate ideas. If you're not cross-pollinating ideas, it's really just a bunch of little individual projects. What you really want to do is sort of jumpstart that into a bigger initiative. And then I'm also going to give one more, which is a shameless plug. Another great way to jumpstart your innovation initiative is to subscribe to Radar Views and Computer Economics and all of Avasant research. So please do so if you're so inclined. And now I'll just thank the panel, Chandrika, Shael, Swapnil, and of course all of you in the audience for coming. Thank you so much for your time.